Next, module 3, Azure Administration. In this, first lab is how to manage Azure resources using Azure portal. So, now we are going to create the resource group, and then we'll be deploying resource into the resource group. So let's create the resource called disk. Click on create and select the subscription and create the new resource group. Click OK. Provide any disk name. And leave the region as default. Select the size of the disk. So I'm going to select standard HDD with the 32 gig size. Click on OK. Click review plus create. Validation passed. Click on create. So it's creating the disk now. Okay, the deployment is completed. Go to resource. So we have created the resource, which is the disk under the resource group RG1. So if we go to the resource groups, open the resource group, and you will see the resource that we just created. In the next task, we are going to see how to move the resources between resource group. So first we have created RG1 resource group, and inside we have one resource. So now we'll see how to move this resource to a different resource group. So select this resource and click on the move. So you see the option move to another resource group. Click on that, and we are going to create a new resource group RG2. Okay, click on next. So it's checking here whether if these resources can be moved to a different resource group. Let's wait for a minute. Okay, now the validation status changed to succeeded. Click on next. Check this box. I understand that tools and script associated with moved resource will not work until I update them to use new resource ID. And click on move to move this resource into the new resource group. So it would take about 10 minutes to move this resource into the new resource group. So we can check that in this activity once it is completed. We can just move into another task. So next task, implement resource lock. So we will be applying resource lock to Azure resource group and its resources. So let's go to disk, create a new disk, select the subscription. So I'm going to create the new resource group, RG3, and the disk name, disk 2, and I'll leave the other option as a default and change the disk size. So I'm choosing standard HDD with a 32 gig size. Review and create. Running final validation. Okay, the validation passed. Click on create. Okay, so now it's creating the new resource in the new resource group, and we are going to apply the lock to that resource group so that it will prevent any accidental deletion of the resource inside the resource group. Okay, go to resources. So now I'm going to create the lock. Click logs under the settings section. Click on add. Type the lock name. So I'm going to give the lock name and the lock type as delete. So there are two options, read only and delete. Select the delete and click OK. So I have created the logs and applied that to the RG3, which is the resource group that we just created. So now we are going to test the resource. So click on overview and select the resource, the disk resource that we have created, and we are going to delete this. Type yes for confirmation and click on delete. So we are getting an error because we have applied the resource lock. So that's the reason we are not able to delete this resource. If we open the resource, go to size plus performance, and if we try to change the size, it's select premium SSD, 64 gig, resize. Okay, it has been done. So that resource lock only limited to delete operation. So other operations should be fine. We can do any other changes with the resource. Okay, so that's it in this module. Make sure you clean up any unused resource, otherwise you will see unexpected cost incurring in your subscription. So I'm going to delete only the lock that I have applied. So other resource that we need in the next module. Okay, delete. So in this lab, We have created resource groups and deployed resources to the resource group, and next move the resources between resource groups, and finally implemented and tested the resource log.